And welcome back to Fox News Sunday. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Shannon. Good to be back.
Okay, so let's start here. One Republican strategist outlines her efforts at the GOP nomination this way. He says, quote, the Trumpists are angry with him. The never-Trumpists are mad at him for his being part of the administration and support of an impeached, convicted insurrectionist promoter. It's a hard path. So you're at single digits in the polls right now. What kind of constituency or coalition can you put together with that in mind?
Well, first off, it's good to be with you. Over the last 20 years, I've been a vice president of the United States. I've been a governor of a successful state, and I've been a leading House conservative for 12 years in the Congress. And we just felt compelled to step forward and offer our candidacy. And we're going to take our case, our background, our experience, our vision to bring America back to those common sense conservative values to every voter. You know, you and I have known each other since my days in the Congress of the United States. You know, back when I was fighting the big spenders in my own party, and you know the stance that I took for the right to life when I was a member of Congress. I authored the first legislation to defund Planned Parenthood that had ever been authored and passed in the House of Representatives. And then years as a governor, and also the story of our family and our values. We'll be ready day one if we have the privilege to serve as President of the United States to steer our country back to those common sense conservative principles that have always made us strong and prosperous and free.
And you're not afraid of getting into some of these difficult issues like abortion. You have said you want the entire GOP field to commit to at least a 15-week national ban. Here is a warning from a poll that is out that says Americans overwhelmingly oppose a federal law banning abortion nationwide. By 80 to 14%, those surveyed oppose the idea of a national ban, including 65% of Republicans and 83% of independents. So how do you sell this to an American public that, according to these numbers, doesn't want a national ban?
Well, first off, you know, I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this weekend, we're celebrating a historic victory. When 1 year ago, the Supreme Court of the United States sent Roe versus Wade to the ash heap of history and gave the American people a new beginning for life. I couldn't be more proud of the some 20 states that have advanced protections for the unborn and support for women facing crisis pregnancy. And I think it's imperative not only this primary campaign begins, but as men and women step forward for office in the Republican Party all across the country, that we speak with clarity about a commitment to the sanctity of life, that we make it clear that we'll stand on principle, but we'll also stand with compassion. Shannon, look, 62 million unborn lives lost, and just about as many women who have endured the 2 generations under abortion. I think we need to bring a message of grace. We need to bring a message of kindness. We need to come alongside women in crisis pregnancies. That's how we're going to win hearts and minds. It's so much more important than politics to me, but I also think it's a winning issue. I did this week call on every other candidate for the Republican nomination to support a minimum standard of a 15-week ban on abortion at the national level. That would align American law with most of the countries in Europe that literally ban abortion after 12 to 15 weeks. Our laws at the national level today are more aligned with North Korea, China, and Iran than with other Western countries in Europe. And so I fully support that. And candidly, as other surveys have shown, a decisive majority of Americans would support legislation that bans abortion after unborn children are capable of pain at that 15-week mark. And so I believe that we just can't rest or relent until we restore the sanctity of life to the center of American laws.
You talk about grace and about meeting people where they are. The Defense Department, the Pentagon came out with a policy that provides travel reimbursement and costs for women who are seeking abortions that have to travel away from where they're stationed. Senator Tommy Tuberville has put a hold on hundreds now of military promotions because of that. The Secretary of Defense says it's creating a, quote, clear risk to our national security. Do you agree with his position?
I strongly support the stand that Senator Tuberville is taking. We simply cannot have the federal government subsidizing abortion in this country, directly or indirectly, and that includes at the Pentagon. And I commend him for the stand that he's taken. But look, I hold the view that the way forward is to expose the extremism of Joe Biden and the Democrats, and then to stand clearly and with compassion and on principle for the sanctity of life.
Another tough topic. Social Security, Medicare. You've waded into these waters that are very dangerous and shark infested for most politicos out there. You floated this idea about letting younger Americans put some of their withholding into personal savings account.
Right.
The LA Times has a piece that says this: make no mistake, diverting any significant portion of Social Security taxes into private accounts would make the program unworkable, funnel untold wealth into the hands of Wall Street promoters, and leave millions of families destitute. Why take this position when you know that's going to be the critique of it?
Well, first off, look, Joe Biden's policy on our national debt is insolvency. And sadly, my former running mate's policy is identical to Joe Biden's. Both of them say they're not even going to talk about common sense and compassionate reforms to entitlements to spare future generations of a mountain range of debt. And entitlements represent 70% of federal spending today. And that number is only growing. I think we owe better to those three beautiful granddaughters of mine that were born in the last 2 years. I mean, we have a national debt today, Shannon, the size of our nation's economy. But it is scheduled over the next 25 years to grow to $150 trillion. If we don't act in the days ahead, and we put it off for 25 years, those granddaughters of mine and my kids are going to be faced with all bad choices. That's why I really do believe the time has come to have leadership at the national level that'll be straight with the American people about the debt crisis that we're facing. Make it clear to Americans that are in retirement that there'll be no change in Social Security or Medicare. And for Americans that are going to retire in the next 25 years, there'll be no change for them as well. But for Americans under the age of 40, I think they would be open to the kind of reforms that would transition New Deal programs into a better deal. I have people coming up to me saying, thank you. Thanks for being honest about this. And it's the kind of leadership that I'll provide if I'm president of the United States.
I want to, if we can, do a couple of super quick lightning rounds because I want to make sure I get some answers from you on this. You've seen the stories. Should the Supreme Court have a code of ethics, one that's enforceable? Well,
look, I have immense respect for Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Samuel Alito. And I take them at their word that they acted in a proper and an upright way in this regard. And I just can't help but believe that what we're seeing here is politics. ProPublica, left-wing organizations. I think we'll never forgive our administration for appointing 3 pro-life justices to the Supreme Court of the United States. And so I think now, having lost in the ballot box, they're back to trying to bully the Supreme Court when, as you know, other justices who've been appointed by Democrat presidents have had some of the same issues come up. They've never been raised. So I think we're just looking at politics, and I have great confidence in the justices that are serving us today.
You've said it's too premature to talk about possibly pardoning President Trump. There's been no trial that assumes that he would be convicted.
Right.
If he was, would you or would you not entertain a pardon for him? Should you be president?
Well, look, if I had the great privilege of being president of the United States, I would take the pardon authority very seriously. You know, I've been a governor. I've actually granted pardons to people, and there's a very careful process for evaluating that, and I would apply that to every single case in that matter. But I appreciate you raising the point. I don't understand why some of the other people running for president in the Republican primary assume that the president will be found guilty. I think it's terribly premature, and it shows really a disrespect for our judicial system to talk about that now. I think, look, the charges in the indictment are serious, and I can't defend what is alleged, but the president's entitled to his day in court, and I think we need to let the process go forward, let the former president make his case, and for my part, I'm going to stay focused on the challenges facing the American people, and I'm going to work our heart out, not just to win the Republican nomination, but to win a great victory for our party and for the American people in 2024.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.